We are live here at Scare City. I am your host, Chris Tremount, Chief Executive Pleb at Scare City. We're coming at you from the road today in a away game, hence the blank canvas behind me. And I also forgot my microphone, unfortunately. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Thankfully, I will not be doing much talking today. We are going to be joined by Nanu Berks, who is auctioning off her lovely BTC rose. We're going to get behind this beautiful artwork with her here in a couple minutes. Before we do, I want to give you a quick rundown of how Lightning auctions work. The auction has just begun. We got 24 hours to go with this thing. We are accepting bids. If you want to place a bid, come down and input how much you want to bid in sats. We tell you how much collateral you'll need to put up for that bid. Just input an email address. If it's your first time putting in that email address, you'll also input a display name. That's the only thing that appears in the bid table. Your email address stays private. And if you want to get into the details, check out this How It Works video. All right, without further ado, I'm going to welcome on Nanu. Nanu, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm stoked to be here.
Awesome. It's great to have you here. And you have, compared to my blank vanilla background, you got a lot. You got a lot going on there. Is this your studio?
Much. Yeah, this is the studio, and I'm framing stuff and have all the art tables and all the things.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving us the pleasure of auctioning off this beautiful artwork. I can't wait to get into the details, but before we do, how about just, give us a little bit of background about yourself. What, before Bitcoin, what do you think predisposed you to get interested in Bitcoin?
It's a great question. I'm originally from Argentina. So in 2002, there was, the huge economic crisis. The banks kind of closed overnight and stole all my family's savings. So we ended up kind of on the street overnight. It was insane. I was like 9, and then 9 and 14, and sorry, I'm gonna turn this off because it's loud. And so I was, already making graffiti and stuff like that, and kind of wanted to get into decentralization, but I didn't really have the words for it. I just thought I was like an anarchist and that I was like an outlaw. But then the more I started traveling and meeting people and learning about Bitcoin, I realized that Bitcoin has the same values and decentralization has the same values that I followed. So I kind of got into that, and then I've been making crypto art since 2014, but 2016. And yeah, I've always painted murals on the road and, traded art for a living, but it's cooler now to be able to do it with this technology, and decentralize the art world is a dream come true. So it's kind of
That's awesome. I was in Buenos Aires. I think it was 2007. So, La Crisis, as I think it was called, was still like fresh in everybody's minds. And
totally.
there's like, no one questions, the faith and government and money here in the US generally. But there it was like, of course, like it was just obvious you do not trust the government with your money. Like you've been burned. I think, 2002 was one instance, but it's happened over and over there. And it's just such an interesting, the cultural perspective from those events.
For sure. I love, there's this memes, and one of them shows, a dollar, and it shows the dollar through the years, and have you seen this? And the cart full of food, and every year the dollar is the same value, but the food that you can buy with it is less. And then it shows Bitcoin, and the cart is like more food every year. So it's just an interesting perspective for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you started off, you were doing graffiti in Argentina?
Yeah, so I pretty much was just, like skateboarding around and spray painting happy messages on walls, and just I would like to spray paint things that make people question their reality. So I would spray paint things like, are you happy, or like just little things. And then I started tagging "be happy, be free" with the Bitcoin bee, and then it kind of grew from there. It was like Bitcoin things everywhere. And yeah, we just like run around with our friends because it was crazy. Like we were standing in the middle of the street with pots and pans and outside of banks that were all graffitied, and people are like throwing rocks through the windows, like, you know, like as a kid. And then as a 13-year-old, it was insane to be in that reality. And so that propelled me to kind of travel and paint murals and try to just make a living doing something else. But I kind of like didn't get tech, didn't really like it. I didn't really have tech with me on the road. So it's really strange to now be playing around with digital money and like making augmented reality art and NFTs. It's kind of like I never imagined that I'd be a digital artist, you know? So
Yeah, that's so cool. And I remember that in Argentina also is like protests everywhere, right? Like things are so calm in the US, but like there it's like the government does anything that upsets people and they just take right to the streets with the pots and pans. And it's kind of like, you know, it gave me my first real feel for like, you know, power to the people. And it's great to see people, you know, feeling compelled to rise up when they're not in agreement with what's going on.
completely. Yeah, it's so true. That's the only way. That's the only way, really. So we're starting to see more and more of these movements here too. It's just people get tired, and what are you gonna do? You know, you can't just sit there and do nothing. So that's my answer too. When everyone has complaints, when people have complaints about this technology, I say, what's the alternative? Do nothing, just sit there and like stay with the current system you get, or do you want to play with some new stuff and see what happens? You know?
Yeah, it's amazing how many people that are just okay with like the status quo here. Um, I'm sure we're all, you know, have a lot of people in our lives who just don't question anything, and they just, you know, just have a whole lot of trust in the way things have been, that they'll continue to be the same way.
Exactly.
So I do want to ask you. So you got into Bitcoin while in Argentina?
I was I think I was in Mexico. Yeah, I was like near the Chichen Itza pyramids, and I was kind of
Oh,
like sketching on my journal, and this I was sketching a mural I was going to paint, and this guy behind me was asking me questions, and I was like, "Oh, you know, I don't believe in money or whatever. Like I just paint in exchange of housing and food, and I'm happy. I don't need anything." And he was kind of like, "Well, you know, Bitcoin has the same values, and you don't need to be broke and be an outlaw to make change." And that kind of really like got my wheels spinning. This was in 2012. And by
wow.
2014, yeah, I was like, it kind of just like sat in my brain, but I still had a lot of resistance to technology. And then by 2014, it was the first time I got paid in Bitcoin. I did like a remote writing gig or something on Angel List, and I got paid in Bitcoin. And I was like, sure, I don't know, I'll explore this. But then I used it to pay rent, you know? And then by 2016, I was like full on traveling the Bitcoin conference circuit, going to all the meetups, making a ton of art, meeting everybody. I was like fully sold on it, fully down the rabbit hole. But it was cool because, like, you know, a lot of people feel this way, especially a lot of artists, because, you know, it's there's a lot of broken artists because obviously we're still redefining the value of art and how to monetize the creative economy and why that's important and etc. So a lot of people have like anger at money, right, and resistance, but it's so easy to villainize anything like a politician or a movement or money, but that's not the problem. It's just a tool, and we can do whatever we want with that tool. So it's just been really healing to accept the power of money and the power of progress and technology and use it for good, you know? It's been really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this story of artists really being, you know, introduced to Bitcoin by getting paid for their work in Bitcoin. Just last week talking to Dim, I know he had a similar story, and I've heard it this is at least the fourth time I've heard of that being kind of the real introduction that like really orange pilled an artist. I love to think that
Oh,
there's
yeah.
just like that there's like a Bitcoin art collector out there, or that just like scoped out all of these artists around the world around 2012, 2014, and decided to orange pill them all by paying them in Bitcoin, and it's all like one person orchestrating this whole thing.
It's so cool. And that's what we were geeking out on, you know, 6 years ago when we were in Steemit and like talking with people, with other crypto artists, and trying to pitch to everyone in the crypto space, you know, artist mass adoption. This is how people are gonna come in. And some people got it, some people laughed at us, but you know, here we are where NFTs are totally the mass adoption tool. And so Fanny's here. Thanks, Patricia. I'd love to see the people saying hi. Thank you guys. I really appreciate the love. Yeah, and so yeah, here we are now. You know, the crypto art and I guess coins and blockchain and everything, mass adoption through art. Of course, the symbology and culture in the making and music, it's what we do. It's like, this is like when quarantine first hit and everybody was putting those memes around. Oh, you don't want to pay artists? Like, what have you been doing with your time? Listening to music, watching like movies, like art is saving your life right now. Do you see the value in it now? Yeah, it's been really interesting.
Yeah, it's well, look, I mean, art is just it's another meme, right? And memes are the best way to communicate a narrative. So it totally makes sense that people are getting introduced to this new technology through art, and it's great. It's an amazing thing that for once, like artists really have a chance to benefit from a big technological movement. It's an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, for sure. And it's still like it's still somewhat of a curve to onboard, but it's still more accessible than before, because if you have passion or connection to the art, you'll figure out the systems, instead of if you just hear about Bitcoin, maybe it's harder, more challenging for people to find the reason to connect and want to onboard. But if you know that it's your art first, and this is like a marketing thing for your art, and then you get into the tech, it makes it easier, I think, as a collector or as an artist,
Yeah, I can totally see that. I think like NFTs are obviously controversial in the Bitcoin world, but at the end of the day, this is introducing the masses to this technology, and over time, it just makes sense that they're going to make their way to the cryptocurrency that they find is most secure, at least when it comes to storing their wealth. So it's all positive for Bitcoin, even though it's going to be a journey for a lot of people, and a lot of people will get lost along the way or whatever. But this is like the mass adoption that, since I've been in this space, everybody's like, is it here? Is it here? It's like, it's here. It's just not how you expected it to come. And you might have to be a little patient for people to find their way ultimately to Bitcoin.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so cool. It's just all interconnected. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So, all right. So take us back. So you got paid in Bitcoin for some artwork, and you said you started including Bitcoin in some of your graffiti murals. What was like some of the early Bitcoin art you worked on?
Yeah, so I got paid for the first time in 2014 for a writing gig. I did like some technical writing, and it kind of like helped me learn more about Bitcoin, because it was about the ecosystem. And then I started making art about it, but I wasn't really selling it. I was just painting murals and stuff. And then I think one day I was just I was kind of like, I had side gigs, I was like always making art, but I had like little gigs. So I would pay the bills. And one day I was just like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm just going to go back and be a full-time artist again for like the fourth time. I'm going to try this again,
Yeah.
How it is. And I like quit the gig that I had. And I remember like sitting in my apartment, and I didn't know how I was going to pay rent. And I was on the floor. I had no furniture because I just moved in. I just moved into Austin. And I'm like, okay, screw it. I'm just going to go live paint tomorrow, and I'm going to sell the painting on the spot, and I'm going to walk away with a commission. And if these two things happen, I'm never going back, And that's exactly what happened. I went in, I live painted, I sold the painting on the spot, and then I walked away with a commission. And this person was into cryptocurrency and everything. And so it was kind of perfect synergy. And then I painted these commissions and started posting on Twitter, and it just, the community grew from there. And then I started getting like commissions. I had more commissions that I could paint for a while, It was really cool. And then like a year and a half after that, I stopped the commissions a little bit and started just working on my own stuff. But it was like so crazy to build on this, and there was a lot of education and like talking to people and explaining to people at conferences why we needed art there, why I needed to like be creating the symbology, why we needed to have art galleries. It was like very difficult to kind of have receptivity with that in the beginning. And also I was pretty much like the only woman around. Like, I think I was one of the very few women in the space. So it was always really interesting. And it's just such a different world now, it's a completely different space. So yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to take it for granted now that it's like, a real movement. But it started off with pioneers, like pioneers who were just kind of blazing a trail just because they wanted to do this thing. Not because it was like because there was a community around it, just because you wanted to create art about Bitcoin. I always love hearing about that, and it's always just a reminder of like where this all came from.
Yeah, and I think that's so important to carry forward the values and the ethos, because we're seeing, so many new people come into the space and kind of like not really know why they care about it, or, they're just kind of following the hype, which is cool too, because it's needed for mass adoption too. But I really appreciate when people can talk about like why this started and why does it mean something to you, why it's important.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of the perfect segue to start talking about BTC Rose. This is part of a broader series that you did called BTC Rose DNA series. Do you want to start off by telling us about that?
Sure. Yeah. I really like the connection between ancient technologies and new technologies. And so plants to me are some of the most ancient technologies, whether it's, like psilocybin, which is really good for depression, or like, things like for healing, for healing purposes, or tea. Like I drink mate every morning. So like for me, tea is very sacred. And roses, they have super high vibration. My grandma used to grow roses in a place in Argentina where roses were not supposed to grow, and she always had these beautiful roses. There's just like so much connection to roses for me, and I always wear rose oil. I put rose oil in my water. Like I'm just obsessed with it, So I wanted to use that, and then like the latest technology, blockchain technology and Bitcoin, and kind of merge those two. And at the time in 2017, I was really obsessed with exploring the topic of transparency and trust in the blockchain, and this idea that we have both privacy and anonymity, but also you can see everything and everything's very transparent, and what are the pros and cons on that. And so and there was a lot of BS going on 2018, 2019. There were so many ICOs and just weird projects and people in it for the wrong reasons or whatever, making mistakes. So I just really wanted to highlight the projects that were working with transparency. And there were some really cool ones at the time. Not all of them are still around, but I was kind of helping them out as well. And so, this just kind of sprouted from that. And I wanted to make something that was see-through, but that had both technologies. And I just made, I think it was 7 pieces, and a bunch of them sold then. And I have 3 left, including this one. So it's a really fun series, and it's been really cool to be able to frame it properly. And because for the first, couple of years of my career, I didn't have money to frame anything. So it's like crazy to be able to walk into a frame shop and be like, hey, like make exactly this frame that I envision, and it'll be beautiful and it'll add to it. And it's cool.
Yeah, I love how this came together. I mean, just the coin itself, but with this frame you came up with, I feel like makes it pop in the best possible way.
Thank you. Yeah. Like you said, it's, because sometimes you envision something in your mind and you create it, but then the display is equally as important, the design of the display. It was really fun. And these make really cool shapes. Like if you position them right in a window, like near a window, it'll make these huge trails of the flowers. So some people have them on their altars or their window panes, and they make all sorts of like rainbow cool stuff.
Awesome. So what can you tell us about like how you made this? I want to go ahead and play the video in the background.
Yeah, totally.
Is that a real rose?
Yeah. So it's I found this sterling silver. I think it's like a coaster or something. I found it in like what is it called? Like a estate sale or something like that. So anyway, it's like this beautiful glass sterling silver shape. And I got the Bitcoin is actually one of those wallets, but it doesn't have anything in it. It's an old wallet, so the security was already taken out. But I just wanted to use the symbology and the coin. I think it's really cool to have a physical coin of Bitcoin, semi-tangible, to hold on to. And so I use bioresin, it's non-toxic resin, and I use Bulgarian rose, so it's real rose and real petals. It's so much fun to make. It's something so simple, but like everything, the simplest designs are the hardest to make. There's so much that goes into making sure that the Bitcoin is centered and that the petals are spread out the right way, because as the resin heats up, everything moves around, right? So you gotta like literally put your intention and attention on it and babysit this piece as is curating. If you drop the resin in too hot, it'll mess with it. It'll do bubbles. If it's too liquid, you'll have to sit there for 4 hours and look at it. So it's just like a labor of love to learn how to work with this medium. And I made a lot of mistakes early on, so it was nice to be able to create something exactly how I wanted it, like with the overlay of the big rose on top. Like, it's just so much that goes into making it look that way. So yeah, it's nice to be able to actually work with that medium now, because I started only like 2-3 years ago with resin. So yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only imagine working with resin and maintaining the kind of the natural beauty of the rose. It sounds like a huge challenge. So well done on putting that together.
Thank you. Yeah, you're literally with like a little tweezer moving things around, and like have to create a dust bubble around it so no dust gets in it. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, for sure. So what's the coin that's actually in there?
So that is one of the wallets. It's not, there's like that main company that creates, I think, cold storage coins, that creates the main wallets. I have a bunch of them. But this one, it was from a different, I collected this at a conference, so I don't remember exactly who made it. But yeah, it's just a Bitcoin wallet, and I like using the wallets. I have them in a lot of the art. Some of them have money in it, some don't. I just like the idea of having the coin in the hardware wallet, being able to hold it.
Yeah, for sure. It makes it feel a little bit more tangible, doesn't it?
Yeah. I love that. I saw on Twitter people were posting that this is like what you would give to your Bitcoin girlfriend. And I thought that was so awesome. Like, can somebody propose to someone with this? That'd be great.
Yeah, I saw the comments too, and I kind of ran with it, but it really is. It's like, whether you just want it for as a gift for your, existing Bitcoin girlfriend, or if you want to turn your girlfriend into a Bitcoiner.
Exactly.
I think this is the perfect way to go.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, this is beautiful. Nanu, do you want to tell us what else you're working on these days?
Yeah, so let's see. I just picked up this piece behind me from the frame shop, and it's this piece is already owned by someone, but I got to do the AR on it, and it came out super cool. So I'm excited about that one. And then these are the other pieces that have the wallets in them, and I'm kind of messing around with these right now with the ARs as well. But there's so much going on. I mean, I designed a skateboard for the Tony Hawk Foundation to auction that at the Bitcoin conference. I have this crazy collaboration with a Warhol print coming out that we're launching with Renaissance 2.0, which is an amazing project with really cool people. There's we're already planning Art Basel and Crypto Art Basel. The conference is in 2 weeks, so we're painting a mural, doing like 2 more auctions. It's just, there's so much going on, and there's like a crazy, like very interesting jewelry line. It's not just jewelry, there's a spin on it that's coming out soon, and then I'm putting my crypto art clothing in VR. So just millions of projects. It's just like all the dream projects coming together. They're all long term, but yeah, it's fun.
Wow, you have a lot going on. There's so much surface area to work with in this space, right? And it sounds like you're exploring all possibilities.
For sure.
Cool, Nanu. So where can people stay up to date on what you're working on?
So I have my link tree in all my bios. If you type Nanu Berks on Google, anything that comes up will have that link, the link tree with everything. And I've been posting more. I just posted the video of the of the AR on YouTube. Yeah, on Twitter, everything's there. And I'm optimizing my websites as well. I'm creating landing pages to put all the NFTs and everything on there. So yeah, pretty easy to find. Like, thank God, Google, you just put that name on it. Type in Nanu crypto art and things will come up too. So it's easy.
Very cool. All right, Nanu.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, somebody said to me, this is a really bad time to launch because the whole crypto market just crashed hardcore, even though it always comes back up. Like, we know, if you've been in there for a while, you just keep calm and huddle and like sit, and things just always transmute. And I don't think it's related to the market. It depends. There's so many things that go into it, but I know that people were nervous about that. So it was interesting to receive that feedback. It's like, I don't know, I've been so excited to do an auction with you guys for so long, and I'm learning so much in the process that I'm just excited to be here and to be able to share this with the world. So yeah, it's an interesting timing, but it's never the perfect timing. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, there's always we got some special variables in the Bitcoin space to work with. And look, we're just grateful to be able to work with you on this. This is a beautiful piece. I'm looking forward to the next 23 hours with it. And when it comes to price volatility, what we always say is if you're spending your Bitcoin, you should be restacking on the other side. And if you're spending it on Bitcoin art, double stack on the other side to reward yourself, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And Bitcoin for the first 5-10 years, like the pieces that were created in the first 5-10 years of Bitcoin are they're always continue to rise in value because they're just historic. Like, it's not about whether it's my art or, how good my art is. That's obviously a factor, whether people like it or not, but it's just cool. Like, that's why I always when people ask me some of the advice in collecting crypto art or, or in the NFT world, I always say, try to diversify your portfolio too. Collect from new artists that you love and small artists that, maybe don't get a lot of hype or whatever. Collect from crypto OG artists that their brands are raising in value continuously. Do your own research, so yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're still so early in this movement, and if it ends up being what we expect it to be, all of these artworks that are created today are going to age to become totally iconic, right? I look at it as we're in the early phases of a new renaissance.
Exactly.
And I think you'll be able to look at the artwork that's being created today, similar to how we look at the famous artworks from the Italian Renaissance. So
I agree. That's why it's so crazy. I can't even believe that I'm a part of this movement. It's just insane, to just think I feel like I used to have all these other goals and ideas of what I wanted to do, or I had these ambitions, but now I feel like just being a part of being able to make artists' lives easier in any way and decentralizing how horrible and square the art world has become, it's just so cool just to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's another thing that's sometimes hard to appreciate, right? It's hard to recognize the importance of this moment in history when you're living it. But if you zoom out and really understand where this thing could go, we're living during an amazing time, and we have the privilege to be right front and center of this future historical movement.
Exactly. Yeah, it's super cool.
Awesome, Nanu. Well, let's do a quick check-in on the auction. Right now, we got Stack More on top with a bid of 400,000 sats.
Nice.
Vizik, I also saw in the mix. You got a bid pending from Ash Cooper Kearns of 700,000 sats. We'll see if that one confirms.
Nice.
So definitely some collectors, some love early on here.
Nice.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been such a pleasure to talk with you, and we'll look forward to the next 23 hours with this.
Sounds good to me. Thank you so much for having me. It's been nice being able to catch up a bit.
Yeah, likewise. All right. Talk soon.
Bye. Talk soon.
Bye. All right. If you joined us late, we'll do a quick run through again of how Lightning auctions work. If you want to place a bid, come down, input how much you want to bid in sats, input an email address with that. If it's your first time placing a bid with that email address, you'll input a display name. Display name is what shows up here in the bid table. Email address, it can be any email address. We just use this to verify the winner. Once you're good with all of this, select place bid. You'll be directed to BTC Pay Server, where you'll pay an invoice for your collateral, your bid deposit associated with your bid, just a very small percentage. That's what keeps you accountable for your bid. Once the auction's over, the highest bidder has 24 hours to pay their remaining bid amount. Once they do, all participants get their bid deposits returned to them. What else to know? The final 15 minutes is what we call the hot zone. Any bids placed within this time period reset the countdown to 15 minutes, so someone can't just snoop in with a bid in the last second and steal the auction. Auctions cannot end on a pending bid, so if somebody selects that place bid button, they have a couple minutes to actually pay that invoice. And on-chain bid deposits, while they are accepted throughout the auction, they are disabled within the final 15 minutes do keep in mind, if you are paying on chain during the standard auction time, we need those on-chain bid deposits to confirm. And of course, you'll expect to pay significant fees on those bid deposits. That's why we recommend bidding on Lightning. Here are some wallets to check out if you're new to Lightning. You can literally get set up in about 15 minutes. All right, one more thing to go over. We have this new thing, we're calling it God mode. Basically, you log in, just create a password, verify your email address, and your bid deposits will be lowered. And you'll also have the option to pay 500,000 sats up front to be able to bid as much as you want and place as many bids as you want. So a pretty cool feature if you want to seriously be bidding for this thing. Otherwise, have fun with the auction. Best of luck. Let me know if you have any questions. Easy to find. Scarce.city on Twitter and Chris at scarce.city for the email address. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in.